would like to welcome Dr. Hossein Badran. He will be remote and he will be presenting community broadband networks for rural and remote indigenous communities. Hossein holds the position of Senior Director, Internet Growth and Trust with the Internet Society. He's based in Ottawa, Canada, and this is Hossein's third time presenting at NANOG. It's a pleasure to again have him speaking with us today. Welcome, Hossein.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind introduction. It's a privilege to be at NANOG again and talk about a topic that is dear to my heart and hopefully to ours as well. This topic about community broadband networks for rural and remote indigenous communities. I'll talk about two deployments that we have worked on, actually one deployment and the training initiative. And some of them is a refresher or a reminder to a discussion that we had a few years ago, actually. So, but before we go into the deployment and the actual work, I would like to just brief you on the Internet Society, the place I work in. Internet Society is a non-for-profit organization that was funded in 1992 as a global charitable organization advocating for an open, secure, and trustworthy Internet that's globally connected and available for all. And our mission is to support and promote the development of Internet as a global technical infrastructure and resource that enhances people's lives. In doing so, we embark not alone, but actually with the engagement and support of our organization members. We have 83 organization members at the moment, but also rely heavily on our chapter members and volunteers who actually believe and promote the vision and the mission of the Internet Society in their local activities. We have close to 130 chapters and special interest groups, and more than 117,000 individual members with the Internet Society. What we promote really is to build a more strong and resilient internet. This is one pillar, and that relies on specific focus areas, connecting the unconnected, which is the topic of today's session, and fostering sustainable peering infrastructure, and also measuring the internet, particularly the areas of shutdowns and discontinuity of service offerings. This is on the growth side. On the defend side, we advocate to defend a strong internet, and in doing so, we focus on countering internet threats that comes into regulations in the form of regulations or legal frameworks or laws that are proposed in different countries around the globe. We defend the internet at the United Nations, and this is a topic I covered in a presentation, I believe, last year, how to address threats to internet fragmentation at the UN, particularly the ITU-T. And we focus on extending encryption, strong encryption end-to-end service, as well as sharing cutting-edge knowledge and global routing security, which you have heard on before, which is a critical pillar for us. Now we come to the first initiative that I would like to share with you. It is really a capacity building initiative that is during the COVID years in 2021. We were approached by the National Search Council of Canada to work together in partnership to help bridge the digital divide, particularly in Indigenous communities in northern Canada. Of course, the Indigenous communities have suffered as well as other communities, but they are especially vulnerable to lack of access. And our initiative was to try to identify communities and build capacity within these communities to help them deploy community networks as a means to bridge the digital divide in these communities. And we focused initially on Ontario and Northwest Territories in Canada. As I mentioned, this initiative is really about capacity building. So we delivered the activities that lasted for 18 months in terms of level 1 training, basic training that I will discuss as well, and level 2 training for more in-depth, and then a case study of one particular community. Of course, we did this not alone. We organized ISOC as a lead, organized an advisory committee based on indigenous leaders, as well as academia and other civil society members who have been active in the connecting indigenous communities around Canada. And this is quite important because one of the key issues is to identify communities who really have the interest and have the ambition to connect their members to a broadband service and broadband capabilities through a community-driven initiative. For identifying communities required really outreach and identifying those who are interested and have plans to deploy. So we talked about identifying 10 communities, and then a very important point, identify a champion within each community who carries the torch basically and rallies community members, including the leadership, band council members, the elders, as well as the youngsters in the community to participate in the training and to see the value of dedicating their time and effort in gaining this knowledge and capacity, who believe in the importance of being connected through a reliable connectivity option. Of course, then build and customize the training for these particular communities' needs and requirements. And the basic training level one focused on fundamentals of community networks, what kind of options there are in terms of the technologies and some of the role of the community in building and operating these communities, but also on the business acumen. And this is very important. Not only technology is important, but really how to facilitate the funding of to build the community, and then how to make it a sustainable effort moving forward as much as possible. So one course to technology and one course to the business acumen. And here the experts who are giving the training are the indigenous community experts, people who we have been working with over the years, some of them more than 10 years, who have run through similar deployments in their communities, and they come and share their expertise as indigenous leaders and experts who have seen the challenges and the opportunities of deploying these communities and share them with their peers. This was for 10 community members, as I mentioned. The second level of training is we zoom into only 3 communities that we see have the eagerness, the willingness to participate, and also they are more concrete on their plans of an actual deployment taking place in their communities. Identifies these 3 communities, and then continue with the community champions, and then have more tailored and more in-depth training to these specific 3 communities. More focusing on the options of building a wireless network, building a fiber network, what this requires in terms of facilitation, in terms of technology, in terms of experience, in terms of regulations that pertain to deployments in Canada, particularly in Ontario. And then we have a hands-on exercise that was done as well in hybrid mode for hands-on crimping, Ethernet crimping, which is really not that difficult to do, but it's important for community members to see how this is done by their own hands, and to sharing the knowledge, and the different generations participate in that kind of activity, as we will see. The training was offered mostly virtually in multiple offers of each course to make sure that as much number of attendants could participate. The hands-on crimping were the ones who were offered in hybrid mode. So we had a more knowledgeable person on site in these 3 communities, and then we also had the tutor advising remotely about the progress of the training. These courses were not just offered, but they were part of a more comprehensive educational program where the learning objectives were identified, and through surveys, the gain of knowledge for the course participants have been measured. So we had a member of the advisory committee, a university professor. This is doing surveys and educational learning is his area of expertise, and we had measured the amount of benefit the participants took from each course. These three communities in level 2 training who we identified, they are the Arrowland First Nation in southern Ontario, Chippewash of Nawash unceded First Nation, and White Sand First Nation, which is more on the northern side of Ontario. These two communities, each of them had plans for a broadband network deployment, and started mobilizing their community members to participate in these trainings so that they can actually take part in the actual deployment when it takes place. And we will then zoom in on one of these communities, the Chippewash of Nawash, where we have taken this community and its experience as a case study. So the community of Chippewash of Nawash agreed to participate as and we create a case study for this engagement. So we conducted 12 interviews with members of the community, the elders, the youth, band council members, as well as key operational staff. And then we produced a case study and video testimonials to be able to share this knowledge with the approval of the National Search Council of Canada, of course, to the wider community, so that we can also encourage other Indigenous communities to participate in similar capacity building initiatives. The idea is to potentially take this kind of initiative across different provinces in Canada under the sponsorship of the National Search Council of Canada. This is the a view of the hands-on cripping exercise. That is one of the final courses offered to community, and we have here the community leader lady on the left, the operation director on next to her, and then community elders and participants on the other side of the table. So you see eagerness to participate, and you will see also from the other pictures, they have dug in and did the Ethernet cripping and measuring the connectivity, if it's successful or unsuccessful, if they got all the colors correct and the pins aligned correctly or not. So it was really not only a knowledge building exercise, but also a community building exercise, which we have seen in other cases. Not the first time we do this. This is not the first time we do this. So we have seen this in other exercises. It's really an appreciated activity by community members and different generations, as I mentioned. And the Chippewash of Nawash, who we just saw the pictures of their hands-on cripping exercise, has a significant history in Ontario. And they also have a fiber to the home project, which made them really a very excellent candidate for the use case and the details of this. So where they lie here where the arrow shows, and the closest city is Owen Sound. And it's relatively small town, but it has all services available to them in terms of coverage of internet coverage, banking services, health services, school services. So Owen Sound is a decent sized town. And then Chippewash of Nawash is only 40 minutes drive from there to the north, to the lake, to the shore of the lake. So this 40 minutes difference in distance, they actually present a huge difference in the availability of services at Nawash compared to what's available at Owen Sound. During the pandemic, although the government of Canada offered significant services in terms of remote education, remote health services, and of course, financial assistance and so on, but as you will see from the testimonials, members of the community could not get access and benefit from these services because of the lack of connectivity. There is a tower from Bell Canada at Owen Sound. It had to be upgraded to LTE so that they can actually start getting benefit. But this happened only a few months ago. So during the pandemic, the community suffered tremendously from the lack of services, although only 40 minutes away from Owen Sound. There's a significant history that is available here for your reference later on. But the key point is the Sigawan Obiwe community are the original settlers in that part of Ontario. And it's only in 1850 the government of Canada passed a special act for protection of Indian lands against squatters and loggers. And this is called Act for Protection of Indians in Upper Canada from Imposition and Trespassing and Entry. And this is what gives them the right to the services on their land. Coming now to the fiber to the home project, it's really through a program by the province of Ontario and the federal government that NEWASH partnered with GBTEL, a local telecom, to prepare a proposal for SWIFT, which is an initiative by Western Ontario, for them to be able to come and deploy fiber to the home throughout the community. This project will take at least 2 years to deploy. They are in the starting phases. But they will remain connected to wireless until the link from NEWASH until Owen Sounds is replaced by fiber. So that for this they require special funding, which is still an elusive target. Now I'll share with you the video about this particular use case in NEWASH.
Welcome everybody to Nashing, the home of the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We're a community that has struggled for many years to get access to the services and programs that we would like to deliver to our community. And internet is one of those services. As a community of less than 300 households, we've often been overlooked by government programs that might have otherwise brought us quality services and better internet. And in this world today, internet is a basic human right. It is an essential opportunity to everyone and bring connections across the world. And we here at the Chippewas of Nawash are working towards those goals for our community and to be better positioned to share our rich culture and history with everyone. And I invite you to learn more about this project by following the link and learning our story and visiting our community should you have the chance.
Before I move on, I just wanted to say that one of the drivers for the broadband deployment in NEWASH is, as you see, one of the last images is they're building a water sanitation facility, water cleaning facility. The water quality in NEWASH was such that they were under boiling instructions. The water quality was terrible, so they had to boil the water before they are able to drink it. Now the connectivity is required so that the sensors that sense the water quality can actually function well, and they can monitor in real time the quality of the water throughout this expensive water sanitation facility that they're going to build. In addition to education services and health services, as I just mentioned, and the lawyer who's local but had to move to Owen Sound to be able to practice his practice. These are real needs that we see for the connectivity in Indigenous community of NEWASH. Now I move on to the second deployment, and it's about Uluhaktak, which is a territory in a small community in northwest territories of Canada. This is the map of northern Canada as part of from the CRTC, the national regulator in Canada, and it shows the communities that are that lack broadband connectivity, as well as that rely on satellite for services. They don't have ground or microwave facilities, fiber or microwave facilities. Uluhaktak is where the arrow is showing the far area in the north. They have suffered from lack of connectivity, used GeoSatellites for a number of years, but the cost of upgrading their GeoSatellite services to acceptable quality meant hundreds of thousands of dollars, $700K for deploying a new dish, and $200K per month for about 50 meg connection on C-band in a geostationary satellite. And this is where they are located in about 70 degrees north of Canada, 900 kilometers from Yellowknife, which is the closest city. And you can only go there by air as usual. There's a history about the deployment in Uluhaktak, and I had the privilege to present to NANOG back in 2019 about this particular exciting initiative. So it started in 2018 during the Digital Connectivity Summit in Inuvik. And then since 2019, we started the engagement with capacity building work with the community. And basically be able to share and leverage training that we are doing in other communities, particularly the Inomanalo in Hawaii, nation of Hawaii, to the members of the Ulu Hagtak community. But since 2019, and due to the challenge of the cost of geostationary satellite services, as I just mentioned, the project went on hold. And due to the pandemic, there was no fly-in for a couple of years, so everything was stopped. Last summer, we're fortunate enough that things opened up, and the solution that we have designed in 2019, we're able to deploy in August 2023. The solution that was designed then uses an LTE-based wireless network to distribute bandwidth among the community members using custom SIM cards. And the backhaul, which is really the most challenging aspect of the delivery here, is using Starlink services, low Earth orbit satellite connection. So with the advent of Starlink and having service available there, an option, cost-effective option for backhaul became available. So this is really a changing in the landscape of connectivity in the north that I will discuss in a future slide. And this is a solution that Ulu Hagtak has deployed in August, and of course it has evolved since then a little bit. But community members were actually benefiting significantly from this kind of solution. One of the community members, the former mayor, was using the services on the custom SIMs, was able to connect with her daughter and know where she is in real time, and something that is not really doable with the conventional geostationary satellite solution. Now, so this has been deployed in August 2023. But the landscape in the north, particularly for the connectivity for communities that are satellite dependent, we are seeing a change in their options with the availability of Starlink services in the north. Compared to the price that I mentioned earlier, Starlink is significantly more affordable. We talk about $140 per month, plus about $600 for the first time payment of the equipment. When we deploy, so it's more affordable and more available. And bandwidth-wise, the significant, because there are dedicated satellites to the north, bandwidth-wise, there is no real challenge at the moment. Operation and maintenance of a community-based network is certainly an issue, particularly in the north, where the skills are not present in the community itself. And if an outage happens due to a snowstorm, for example, a misalignment of the antennas or power shutdown, reconfiguring the system requires basically a fly-in of an expert from Yellowknife or from Inuvik or from somewhere else, which can take days, if not weeks. In the winter, there's no fly-in for weeks. So it is significantly a challenge to operate and maintain the network from a technical point of view without any local experience to do so on their own. And then with the change of the landscape, we also see that it is not a matter about teaching the community that is satellite dependent how to deploy or build a network, because it is much easier to build one when you have Starlink available in all houses, for example. It is direct connectivity to the satellite. But it's more about how to use the network more effectively for the benefit of the community members, be it for e-commerce, be it for education, for health services, things that require a fly-in from near zones. They can do it now with a reliable connectivity option using the low Earth orbit satellite. Today, Starlink is the only option, but other players, OneWeb, Kuiper from Amazon, the Telesat services, when they become available. So in the next few years, you will see other options potentially available. So continuity of these services is certainly an issue. We need to see how this will roll out for the next years. But there are options now for easier deployment than it used to be in 2019, for example. Summing up on these two initiatives that I just shared with you, the key takeaways are capacity building comes first. It's really about knowledge sharing, building the skills within the community, making it appreciative what kind of value it is to know how to build, how to deploy, how to operate. Such initiatives is a must. It's more not about technology, but really about the knowledge. Community buy-in is key. Having a champion, whether it is with the band council or an elder or a youngster, people listening to him, he has the belief and the strength to lobby community members around him or around her is a must for this kind of initiatives to work. It's a community-driven initiative. Also, the community landscape itself connectivity landscape itself is changing with the availability of affordable low Earth orbit satellite services. Things are much easier to do now than they were 5 years or 10 years ago. Thank you so much.
Do we have any questions? Any remote questions? Okay, looks like no questions. So thank you, Hossein, for your presentation and time today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.